All right, welcome back to another Wright Stew podcast. I'm Paul Stewart.
And I am Brian Wright. And Paul, we made it to hump day, and clearly your voice, I feel like maybe you missed your calling. I feel like you could have been a version of Harry Carey for like the modern players.
I loved Harry Carey. I was a big Cubbies fan growing up. Oh, let me hear you. I won. Dude, the seventh inning stretch was always super fun and super great. And Harry just up there having a blast at the old yard, just doing his thing. And man, really, really fun. But Brian, let me ask you, before we jump into some real topics here, let me ask you these. So my son and I were driving home last night. We were in the car. Orioles had another little game last night. Kids improving, kids looking great. Super proud of the Orioles. Our little, my 8U coach pitch team, swinging it, playing some D. I mean, getting some force outs, just doing all the things. But we were driving home last night, and I turned the light on, like to see something in the car, and left it on for a couple seconds. When you were a kid and you turned the light on, did your parents say, "Turn that off. We can't see"?
Yes, and I have used it now, Paulie. I'm not a fan of internal lights. I turned down my lights, but yes, they definitely did. I'd even heard like, "Hey, is it legal to have it on?" Maybe one or two times.
I don't. So, but does it cause you trouble seeing with that light on while you're driving?
Yeah, I think it does.
It does?
I think
Okay.
my eyes adjust to the dilate because they don't need as much light to be able to see, and so they can't see as well through the windshield that is darker.
Okay.
I think maybe if you have higher quality headlights, the variance isn't as great. And so I do think there is something to it. But with newer vehicles, probably not as big a deal. But
well, here's where it led me down this rabbit hole.
okay.
I'm fine with it for a couple minutes. It's not like that big.
Yeah. I am too, especially if you're needing it.
But yeah, you're rummaging around. Anyway, but it feels like one of those things that parents just say, and as a kid, you're like, "Oh man, yeah, that's terrible. I should never turn this light on ever. Like it's the worst thing. That light's. I don't even know why it's in this car." And then I started thinking about some of the other things. So like one of the big ones that popped up was like, you've got to wait an hour after you eat before you go swimming or whatever it is. And I'm like, and then you become an adult and you start having kids and you're like, well, dang, is that true? Do we?
No, I was
the answer to that is no. Like, you can go swimming
immediately, yeah. And we didn't have those kind of arbitrary rules. We didn't have those. My parents were ahead of the curve on that. So I don't remember that ever being a conversation. I do remember there were maybe certain families. Hey, one thing I learned about bigger dogs. You ever hear of like bigger dogs, like Great Danes, bigger dogs, like their stomach flipping and then them passing away?
No.
So there is something to that, like no activity like an hour before they eat, and then no activity an hour after they eat. Like literally, some of these larger dogs, canines, can have. This isn't the medical term. There's a longer word for it, but stomach flipping upside down, and it kills a lot of Great Danes. Obviously, bigger dogs, their life expectancy isn't great. I feel like everywhere I've heard about this wolf species that they've brought back after 10,000 years.
Yeah, it's come back.
I feel like we should have learned our lessons from Jurassic Park, right?
Yeah. Michael Crichton wrote about it all those years ago.
And I know they're going to do the mammoth. That's supposed to be, soon.
Do we need the mammoth? Like, why? What are we going to do with it?
Put it in a cage and watch it, I guess, maybe. Like, it's just an elephant with fur, a little bit bigger, smaller. I'm not sure, but it feels like, we're taking those steps to making bad decisions. And we've seen when you try to play God. It doesn't.
Ian Malcolm, there you go. Chaos theory. All right, let's say, like, I love Jurassic. I read all the books. Love Michael Crichton's my favorite author of all time. Love his stuff. If Jurassic Park was a real thing, Brian, and it was affordable, right? Would you go to Jurassic Park? Would
100,000%.
Yeah?
I mean, I would be there much quicker. Like my kids would have saw the dinosaurs before they saw Mickey and Minnie Mouse. I mean, that would have been yeah. If all of a sudden, if we were say we're 100 years or 200 years in the future and they've done this and there's an island somewhere that they've got these dinosaurs on that you can go and have spend like who knows with inflation what now a family of 4 or 5 you spend $10,000 to go to Disney, but you know absolutely, absolutely. I mean, they would have it controlled. I mean, there was really some fluky things that happened for that to, I mean,
Well, they
there's a
had the
number of times it could have
hurricane. The
worked
guy
out
was
better.
trying to steal the embryos. I mean, yeah, in the first one, and yeah, some stuff happens. Yeah,
They
some
could have put a
mistakes.
little bit better security in place. I feel like, there were some things. There's a little bit of bad luck. I mean, the professor or whoever the white bearded guy, he was a very likable character. Obviously ambitious. You got to have some people with some moral character in there. You got to follow the rules and protocols, right? You want to make sure you don't get one of these frog species that can change sexes or do
Well,
anything
that was a
weird.
big part of it. Yeah, that was a big part
And
of
then all
it.
of a sudden you start breeding, and then you got problems. Then you don't know, can these things swim in the ocean? Then you end up on mainland.
But then you're in trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, pterodactyls. I would just love to see, a 75-foot bird flying. I mean, it'd just be incredible. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
dude. When Jurassic 1993, I was 14 because it came out in the summer. When that movie came out, we saw it at the theater as a family. I was just amazed. That thing
Oh,
was.
dude. Yeah, it felt like and you're much more fan, so I want you to speak on it. But from a videographer standpoint and the technology, all the robotics and the CGI was kind of all coming together. It was, and I guess
Just
there wasn't a ton of CGI then, but it was, yeah, it was so
well,
well
there
done.
wasn't a time, and they started, and there's a lot of stories around that they were using some rudimentary stuff, and I remember seeing the video of it was like almost like a stick figure running, and somebody's like, "That my job's over, like no more puppetry or whatever. This is the next." And there's a lot of scenes in there where they use some real, old school mechanical things, and then they also use the CGI and incorporate it. But man, for that movie being what 1993 to 2030, whatever it is, years old, it holds up unbelievably well. Like it could come out this summer and you'd be like, man, that's
Well, that's
great.
pretty good. Hey,
That was
you would go, right? You would go to see the dinosaurs, right? If they were on an island somewhere.
oh yeah, absolutely. That'd be
Yeah,
amazing. I don't
I
know.
would mortgage that. I mean, that would be all. I mean, you're stepping back in time. I mean, it would. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, to step two, did you see the story? I think I've heard reports of 50 and I've heard reports of 66 people killed, and two of those guys being Datel. Is that right? I sent you the
Oh,
article,
it's
Paulie.
Octavio Dotel, yeah, the in the Dominican, the club. I didn't read. I saw that the roof collapsed.
Roof collapsed, and they got him out. And then Tony Blanco, who only played a year, but then played in Japan for a number of years, only played a year in the big leagues. But yeah, a club roof collapsed. There's a famous band. They're in Dominican Republic, and dude, so to tell, I remember him very
Yeah, so
vividly.
it says
Yeah.
Octavio Dotel, Tony Blanco, and Nelsie Cruz amongst those who were killed when a roof collapsed at the Jet Set nightclub in Santo Domingo. So yeah, I mean Dotel was, I mean he was in the big league for a long
I
time.
think he won the World Series with maybe the Braves. Was that in 21?
Yeah, so he did win the World Series, Brian. In 2011, he was with the Cardinals.
Oh
Uh,
wow. Yeah.
the year that they won it. And that was the series with the Rangers where Josh Hamilton hit the home run and then, some really, really dramatic games there. But yeah, Octavio Dotel was man in the big leagues from 99 to 2013. Played with a lot of teams, Mets, Houston, Oakland, Kansas City, Atlanta, the White Sox, Pittsburgh, Dodgers, Colorado, Toronto, St. Louis, back to Detroit. Um, so not to make light of a situation, but if you play Immaculate Grid, probably a pretty great player to have for some of
Yeah.
those. But
Yeah, that would
man,
be that
so
would be a good one. That would be a good one. That's a good
yeah,
one
man,
too.
really, really terrible, man. Like anything like that going on, it's really awful. And some of the pictures here you're looking at are, I mean, it just looks terrible. It looks like the roof. I mean, that's what happened. The roof collapsed on him, and I can't imagine. being in a situation like that, especially if there's no earthquake or anything like that, just the structure falling apart. That's, yeah, really terrible.
Hey, when you were playing in Venezuela, were you ever in any of those buildings or any of those places and you thought, this don't feel safe? Or this, I would imagine the fields are fine. There's only so much structure around you. But would you ever go eat or go out and hang out, go to restaurants, and ever in a
Not, I
situation?
mean, not a ton. We were encouraged not to. We call it base. So the hotel was attached to a mall, so that we kind of called that base, and there were literally armed guards at the entrances and exits of the mall, like holding like machine guns, like in fatigue sort of thing. So that wasn't like, I went outside a few times off base just to kind of walk around the city for a second, but man, it was like we were like very much prepped going. Like when I was going there, they were like, "Don't wear a nice watch, don't wear jewelry, don't wear." I literally walked around in like gym shorts and t-shirts.
Kind of looked a little almost like a big homeless person.
Yeah, like big homeless fella. Um, didn't yeah. A couple times, yeah, we would go out to restaurants at night, but it was like in the mall sort of thing. Um, couple times went off, but never. Yeah, I mean, they scare me enough just not to. And then there's always like, don't drink the water, don't do this, like. So I just kind of read a lot of books and played a lot of PlayStation in my room. It was kind of.
Yeah, yeah, and that seems like that's the best bet. Yeah, I was just curious. I mean, obviously the things happen in every country, but you always wonder when you're in a different country if
Yeah,
when was the last time this actually was looked at? Yeah.
but you would see, like, we would go on road trips too, though, sometimes, and then you would go out into the like middle of nowhere kind of sort of thing, and then there's a stadium that kind of pops up in a little village or town around. But sometimes you would see, like, you'd be driving by places, and they couldn't afford like security, I guess, but they had a wall. But instead of having like barbed wire on top of the wall, they had like broken glass. They would have like
Oh, jeez.
bottles, and I guess the bottles were somehow attached to the wall, and
That
like,
feels like a deterrent. Yeah.
yeah, and they were chopped off. So I was like, I mean, I don't know how much it deters or not, but I wouldn't want to climb over that. So a lot of weird things. And then there's a beautiful country, man. Like the land is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. But they had like these mountains, and then I remember when I flew in at night, and when I got there, that was a whole, like, that was a mess, dude. I didn't speak much Spanish, and it was kind of not like really well communicated who was picking me up and all this. I'm like, I probably should have been kidnapped, right? But when I'm driving in on the hills, there's all these like lights. I was like, oh man, that looks like. And I'm sort of thinking, it looks kind of cool. I was like, hey, I asked him, what's going on with those lights? He's like, oh, those are people who live on the mountain. They're living like huts essentially, sort of thing. And they have
Yeah,
like,
and I've seen pictures and
yeah,
videos of different, you know, uh, some biopics or whatever, some type of documentary that shows it's not always ideal. That's for sure. Not always ideal.
no, and there's, yeah, a lot of civil unrest going on in Venezuela. Chavez and, oh,
A
he's
lot of
passed away.
motivation to be a good player getting out of there.
Yeah, but realistically, when I was there, man, people were wonderful, all really nice. The food was always really good, and just like true passion for baseball. Like they
Yeah.
loved it, man. Like that was, as much as people in the States love football, like that's how they treated baseball down there. Like it was everything. Like they were all about it, man. It was really cool to see that. So I wish I spoke more Spanish. I could have interacted a little more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Speaking of, baseball in general, my Tigers beat the Yanks 5-0
Yeah.
yesterday afternoon, and so they're 7-4. I think the Yankees are a game or two above 500. So the Tigers are playing well early. I heard a stat tonight that I thought was really interesting. Like the Mets, the year that they won it, at one point in time, they were 22-33.
The 86 Mets?
No, like recently.
Oh, the
What
more
was one of
recent.
the
Okay.
years? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Recently, no, the '86 Mets I think were really good.
Yeah, they're
Um,
awesome. Yeah.
and so it just really shows that this early part of the year, as much as we want it to matter, and I think there's some good indications, you really got to get about 60 games in and probably 100 games in. And if you're within, a handful of games of 500, you still got a fighter's chance. Still got a fighter's chance.
I've always heard that basically every team. This was kind of the old big league mantra. Every team is 50-50. You're going to go 50-50 just based on being in the big leagues. It's what you do with those other 60 games that really make the difference, or 62, whatever it is, right? So it's like so like the White Sox, they're 8 and whatever it is, sort of thing last year. Yeah, so
They were
really
awful. They were awful. One thing that we didn't touch on, and I guess how we record, I realized we didn't speak on the national championship probably at all. I know you were texting me on it, Paulie. What was your biggest takeaway? I know Houston was up at one point, and
Houston was up 12 at one point. They were up the majority of the game, and Houston looked like a 1990s NBA team, just kind of a little bit of bully ball. I mean, big, strong, physical.
grown men.
Didn't really shoot great from the outside, but got a lot of points in the paint. And then just, man, Florida. I mean, in Florida, I think was the more talented team for sure. And just the thing that I really hated, Florida went up with the free throw at the end, and then Houston had 13 seconds to get a shot off. I hate when teams just can't get a shot off. And the guy, the last shot essentially went up and then pulled it down, and the ball ends up kind of getting kicked around a little bit, diving on the floor and stuff. And Florida kind of wins it as the clock expires. But it was just so, as kind of a neutral fan, like you want to see a shot go up,
right?
Not a scramble for the ball, right? That's kind of stupid.
That was your takeaway. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, obviously I still would look back on it and say Duke was the best team. Duke should have beat Houston by 6 or 7, make a free throw or 2. And then I think they would have handled Florida. I saw there's still never been a exact bracket.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's never going to happen, dude.
You don't think so? I think eventually it does, right? Don't if we do this enough times with enough people doing it, doesn't it eventually statistics say it will happen that 1 out of
there's
2 trillion?
3.5 million iterations of options that it could turn out to be. Yes, statistically it can happen. Will it ever happen? No. My answer is no. I don't think so. I mean,
no, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I don't even fill out a bracket. I just, I feel like maybe if we get closer to chalk, if you have a good chalk, and then maybe mix in a 5 and 12.
I think it's much more likely to happen in the women's bracket. I think that would happen much sooner than the men's bracket. I mean, dude, how many times have you been filling out brackets? I've filled out literally every year of my life, and I've never got even a perfect first day. And not that I'm like Joe Lenardi or like Dick Vitale over here. But I watch a lot of college basketball, especially in my 20s. I watched a ton of it. The closest I ever got was 30 of 32 was the closest.
That's pretty strong. Very strong.
And that felt incredible. That was wow. Because I picked a couple of upsets and stuff like that.
And you have to. I mean, this was kind of the exception to the rule this year, but yeah, you have to. I mean, it is interesting that it'd be interesting to see what next year, if these teams are still relevant. I feel like Duke is going to be, but your Florida, your Houston, that sort of thing. I also heard an interesting conversation with Hurley, the coach for the UConn men.
Yeah.
He was in an interview, and they were talking about, kind of what drives you. And he still has extreme regret from his playing days. He's like, my playing days at Seton Hall were a complete embarrassment. And I every time I see myself in a Seton Hall jersey, I'm just embarrassed. And you look back at his career, he scored over 1,000 points as a player, solid career. They played a little video, and there's he was playing in an opposing gym, and they're like, "You're not your brother, you're not your
Oh,
brother," and so it was going back and forth, and so it's you can tell. I'm convinced that a lot of the greats have something that they're able to hold on to and kind of make their chip for a very long time and kind of motivating. Because I would argue, he won two in a row, which is really hard to do.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, he may be, if we're talking current college basketball coaches on the men's side, I'm saying he may be in the top two or three right now.
Oh, yeah, he's incredible, man. Just a great motor, and the Hurley family is just synonymous with basketball, right? Their dad was a big time coach in the New York City Catholic League and all that growing up, and yeah, I think you're right, man. And we talked about REM yesterday, and he gets the kids up there too, man. He's really recruiting some really talented players. The thing, so I was listening. I think I told you the other day. I was listening to a podcast about Blue Chips. Remember the movie Blue Chips?
For sure.
And they were talking about it, and Bobby Hurley was in the movie, Calbert Cheney, Allen Houston. Like there was some then Penny Hardaway clearly, and Shaq, and a couple others, right? But they were talking about, and so you got to know those guys like at Duke or at Indiana, and
Right.
it felt like going into next year now is like if this was 25 years ago, Cooper Flagg's coming back is like, oh, can he do it this year? You know what I mean?
May have to go back 35 years because in the early 90s, guys were being
Yeah,
developed. Yeah.
but even like the Fab Five, like they all came back for their sophomore year, right? And then Weber left, and then Jalen Rose and Juwan Howard left, and then Jimmy King and Ray Jackson held on for a little bit, um, but it felt like in college sports, at least it built up to something over that 3 or 4 years.
No, it is a year-to-year proposition. One of the other things he said I thought was interesting. He's like, I suspect 50% of my roster is trying to find somewhere else to play next year, even though they're currently on my roster and nobody's had a direct conversation with me. He's like,
Yeah,
I'm very aware that probably 50% of my roster is having those conversations to figure out where they're going to play next year.
yeah,
It is a year-to-year proposition, and you see
it's so
why
tough.
Cates and Roy Williams and a lot of those. Cates. Kay got out and Roy Williams got out. I mean, you see why those guys were. Hey, this is not what we had done for 30, 40 years. It's a different game. It is what it
Yeah.
is, but it's a different game.
And you mentioned it the other day on the football side, like even Saban and some guys like that are getting out too because it's just, man, it's really tough, and it's hard enough coaching and winning, and now having to recruit your own players. It's just, I don't know, man. I I wish there would be some sort of longer commitment to a school. I know it's not feasible at this point. The cat's out of the bag,
Well,
and
and I
again,
think this was the obvious. I'll be one that was kind of hesitant to go the route to where we pay players, but this was the obvious result to me. This is ultimately why the NCAA fought it for 30 years. Because this was the obvious result.
yeah. But again, we've said the NCAA could have done better.
They could have, and probably it dipped a little bit out instead of the rainfall or the waterfall that eventually happened, and now it's kind of overcorrected maybe to the players really having all the control or
Yeah.
a lot of the control. But again, if I had a kid or if I was playing, I would want that control, which I understand. I mean, and your daughters, right? So your daughters have, at least your oldest went to one school and was able to transfer, assumingly with
Yeah. It
no
worked out
issues,
for
and
her. Yeah.
so I mean, there's some. And if somebody was going to pay you or me $100,000 more to go play somewhere else, we're going to go do that. So
Yeah. Heck yeah. Absolutely. Uh, Here you go. So some exciting news out of the Stewart household. My second daughter got her. She texted the family thread today and said she got her first NIL deal, and so she got something from a makeup company. And hold on, let me find. I can see what they're. We'll give them a shout out here. It is Mel Marie, Mel Marie Makeup, and so she gets like $50 credit towards skincare and makeup or whatever it is. And then when she gets it shipped to her, she's got to do like an unboxing video and then post a few videos on her socials about it, that sort of thing. So, but she texted the family thread and said, I got an NIL. I'm like, and
I need
before she
like
said,
50 grand, but dude, it
I
starts
was thinking,
small. Start
I was
small.
thinking like, like we can, Papa's not gonna have to pay for tuition next year. What do we? Oh, $50 towards some makeup. Okay, that's exciting. I mean,
Well, it's
I'm
better
happy
than
for her.
nothing. Hey, congratulations to her.
I'm
Congratulations
happy
to
for her. That's exciting stuff. So, hey, so remember, NIL is not just for your big time D1 schools. It's for NAIA and D3 and JUCO and everybody else out there, right? And a lot of it has to do with social media following, you and some other factors as well. So it was
her.
really exciting stuff. So happy for her. But man, well, you know what? Thank you all for listening today. We appreciate you all listening. I get texts every day from friends and we get some emails from folks we don't know, and always encouraging to get that feedback. Make sure you do provide that feedback on the iTunes or iHeart or Spotify. That helps us out. That gets us more listeners. That gets us in some other people's algorithms. And make sure you go out there and continue to share this podcast with others. We appreciate that as well. It means a lot to us. So thank you all for listening today. Hey, make it a great hump day.
Hey, out. Go Pack. Go Tigers.